Like Angela, Doran was also released in Japan as a 5-star unit. As a result, he got a rather subpar Neovision awakening that turned him from a damage dealer into a tank, and gave him a brave shift that put him back as a damage dealer. So you might prefer the global version. Doran's Trustmaster reward is an accessory with high attack, 30% dark resistance, and a passive that boosts attack by an additional 50% if the unit's carrying a sword. The added elemental resistance gives a possible niche, if general attack wasn't good enough for you. His Super Trustmaster reward is a 2-handed sword with high attack, good variance, and a powerful double dragon killer. Onto his active abilities. Fire Saber deals fire damage that chains with Stardust Ray, imbues fire onto Doran, and boosts his fire damage by 30%. Ice Saber is the same thing but with ice. You'll never guess what Dark Saber does. Triple Slash deals physical damage that scales off his defense stat and chains with Absolute Mirror of Equity. It also gives him a 75% general damage mitigation buff and a 50% physical and magical mitigation buff against dragon enemies. Stone Saber is like the aforementioned sabers, though it boasts a higher damage modifier and the elemental buff is boosted to a much stronger 50%. Crimson Vengeance lowers one enemy's fire, ice, earth, light, and dark resistance by 120%. Deals physical damage that chains a Stardust Ray, and enables Road Breaker. Road Breaker is a Stardust Ray attack that partially ignores the enemy's defense. Fairy Wona can be used 3 times per battle, and recovers 600 MP for one ally. Moon Saber deals light damage that chains a Stardust Ray, and though it has the same modifier as the first 3 sabers, it lacks an imbue and amplification buff. At the cost of its strength, it shows a bit more support, recovering your team's HP and MP. Cover, Physico, is a sturdy physical cover, and grants Doran an HP barrier. Rage of the Mercenary boosts Doran's attack by 300%, raises the damage modifier of his physical attacks, and boosts his limit burst gauge fill rate by a whopping 250%. Passives. With his Trustmaster reward or Super Trustmaster reward equipped, he gets boost to his HP, attack, a powerful dragon killer, and additional equipment defense and spirit when he's carrying a single sword. He also has the leeway to hold a shield, to give him more defensive stats. Being a one-handed weapon user, he meets half the boosted chain limit cap. His normal attack has been changed to deal damage that scales off his defense, and fills his limit burst gauge by 1/4. At EX plus 2, he gets an instant limit burst. At EX plus 3, he gets 500 attack. The man also has a surprising amount of elemental resistance. I'm not quite sure why he's resistant to lightning and water attacks, and has no mention of ice or light, but maybe that's a Trials of Mana thing, I don't know. But while we're here, let's look at his limit burst. Quakebringer lowers the enemy's defense by 84%, their earth resistance by 130%, and then deals damage. Time to change forms. Doran's Brave Shift has a 4-turn duration and a 1-turn cooldown. Onto his active abilities. Surprisingly, he retains most of his base abilities, though he loses out on a number of them to gain True Spin Slash. It deals damage to chains of Absolute Mirror of Equity, fills his limit burst gauge by 1/4, boosts his attack and defense by 300%, and boosts his limit burst damage by 150%. And that's it. Onto his passives. With his Trustmaster reward or Super Trustmaster reward equipped, he loses out on some possible HP and attack, but retains the powerful Dragon Killer. He also exchanges the defensive potential for more equipment attack, though this time he can't carry a shield to get the stats. In this form, he deals increased damage to beasts, has a strong boost to his limit burst damage, and has more limit burst regen than necessary. His normal attack now scales off his attack stat, though the limit burst fill remains the same. If we look at his elemental resistance, we see that he loses a majority of it, befitting his shift from a physical tank. Now let's look at his limit burst. It deals a single strong blow, and then massively raises the damage modifier of Road Breaker. Let's rank Brave abilities. Cover, Physical will be very important if you plan to use him as a physical tank, but not so much if you don't. Raising True Spin Slash will boost his attack and defense, which can be critical if you've lost a buff from Rage of the Mercenary for whatever reason. Finally, raising Triple Slash actually cuts the MP cost, but the effects at base are at max strength already, so there's not much reason to do so unless you actively plan to use it. Time to make a damage rotation. On turn 1, cast Rage of the Mercenary, Crimson Vengeance, and Stone Saber. On turn 2, activate his Brave Shift, and triple cast Road Breaker. You're going to want to use that again for the next 2 turns, but if his limit burst is ready, then that takes priority. On turn 5, recast Crimson Vengeance, and double cast True Spin Slash. On turn 6, you switch back, so cast Stone Saber and double cast Road Breaker. On turn 7, activate his Brave Shift once more, and use his limit burst. On turn 8, triple cast Road Breaker. On turn 9, recast Crimson Vengeance and double cast True Spin Slash. On turn 10, triple cast World Breaker again. On turn 11, you want to start again with the available buffs. As you can tell, due to the different durations of his various effects, Doran has quite the staggered rotation. Nevertheless, you simply want to make sure to recast his buffs when necessary, and cast his Brave Shift's Limit Burst and World Breaker in tandem of each other. His Brave Shift has a rather large Limit Burst regen every turn, so combined with the rest of your team, you should find yourself filling his Limit Burst gauge rather easily. So, EX2? At EX plus 2, Doran gets an instant Limit Burst. This can greatly streamline things, as it lets Doran activate his Brave Shift's Limit Burst right on turn 2, allowing you to triple cast a strengthened World Breaker twice after that. It also improves his damage output as a result, as the normal rotation doesn't allow for that leeway anyways. At EX plus 3, he gets 500 attack. 500 attack certainly raises his strength, though it comes at the heavy cost of everything you love and everything you own. So how good is Doran? As a damage dealer, Doran has received tremendous buffs, though he's not at the same level as Lara Croft or Full Moon Carton, which is a bit of a shame given that he's also a limited unit. Earth is by far his best option, though he certainly has the ability to go Fire, Ice, or Dark at a slightly weaker level. As a physical tank, Doran has the stats and passives to play that role, but is missing several other abilities compared to many other well-known physical tanks. Still, with his high levels of mitigation against Dragon-type enemies, he can certainly carve out a niche in that regard, if you happen to remember that feature when the time comes. Overall, Doran is a solid unit. With a variety of elements and 2 popular chaining families, he can easily fit onto several teams. Still, for a limited time unit, his overall strength doesn't quite measure up to certain recent banners, and unlike Angela, his ceiling isn't quite as high. But humorously, he's still stronger than Hawkeye. Thanks for watching, and if you liked this video, then leave a like and subscribe. Comment below if you plan to get Doran. I collected the items in my gift box that were beginning to overflow, and I got a lot of Lapis. Unfortunately, it's not quite enough to hit the safety net, and even with my tickets, it's hard to make a decision between this banner and the first. It kinda sucks that the limited units don't make an appearance on the other banner, even at a normal drop rate. Well, it's not like I had the Lapis anyway, so...